Hello. Greg isn't here yet. He's just getting home. So he should be here shortly. I gave him an extra 5 minutes and he's still not quite here on time. But that's fine. No big deal. We've only been doing this time for about 3.5 years. No big deal. He'll be here shortly. Shortly, Bortly. How's everyone doing? What's going on, everybody? Say hello to everybody. Move around. Find your seats. And then we'll have a gadget cast, maybe. Maybe we'll do a gadget cast today. Who knows? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do a gadget cast. Hey, Greggy.
Hey, everyone.
Goes
well.
Oh, what a crazy couple of days it's been for me. I don't know about you.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's been, what kind of day has it been? What kind of week has it been for me? I can't even remember. It's been boring, I think. I don't know.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Well, no. You know what? This whole week I've been kind of watching the news and sheer horror and shock. So I think that's where my week went. So actually, I guess personally it's pretty boring because it's mostly just me sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah.
But in terms of the world stage, a pretty eventful week, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't actually by the way, you notice how I can this is the smoothest thing. It's completely accidental. See how I can raise and lower my mic? Because it's on my little standing desk. It's pretty dope. Yeah. So I think I just a couple of minutes ago figured out that I might have TMJ. Or at least I don't know if it's temporarily or not. I don't know.
Wait, what was that?
So just a couple of minutes ago, I was Googling this kind of discomfort I've been having over the last 2 days. And it says I might have TMJ, which is not.
What is TMJ?
It's got to do with your jaw, which is not great. It's not a bad thing, but because I guess it could be fixed. But imagine chewing anything and getting tired halfway through it.
Huh.
I've never experienced anything like this. Like I just had a banana a minute ago, and halfway through the banana, my jaw was like, "Yeah, you done."
Really?
It's
banana
weird.
that you in?
It's very strange. Yeah. I don't know. So, I mean, the other day I was eating a big sandwich and I'm like, okay, I guess. And then earlier today I had like a small Subway sandwich, which I know you'll love. And I was like, okay. And then I had a banana. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, come on.
It sounds like an amazing way to lose weight. It's like, all right, I can no longer physically chew this. I'm done.
That's pretty much what I think it hopefully will turn into.
Yeah, it's a benefit. The doctor's exactly. Like, we can cure you easily, Travis. Like, hold on.
Yeah.
I got a couple things coming up. If we could just let this go for a month longer.
I know, right? Please. Yeah. No. All right. So we have a lot of things to do after this show gets off. I have a couple of big things to do after the show gets off. So let's get started because I don't got a lot of time. Some of it is with you and then some of it is for a video, which I'll talk about on GadgetCast today. So let's go ahead and get that all sent. All right. You about ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go in the GadgetCast in 3, 2, 1, record.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Oh, that is right. It is not. It is not trickery. We are back with the Gadget Cast. We did not skip this week. My name is Gregory McFadden, joined always with my co-host Travis MC P.
Space travel.
I just say space travel.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. Excited to be back doing some more space traveling today.
Oh, yes. We are back. Still a little bit rusty, I'm not going to lie, but we didn't miss this week. So eventually I'm going to regain my skills of intro, which have never been good. But one day we will have the perfect GadgetCast intro. You know, I think maybe we should switch to the pre-recorded intro because that was pretty dope when we did the live show, and
Yes.
I thought that intro was really cool. Maybe I should just play that every time, and I don't have to be live. Or I just need I need like a pre-recorded script, and I just press a button, ruin all the magic for everyone. It's done.
Why don't you do it? It's totally fine by me.
I don't know. I felt like I got to be live. You know.
I mean, I think sometimes having the option to do either might be the move.
Yeah. It's
know
like
what I mean?
it's just sometimes you go into it and you fail epically, and maybe that's the best way to do it, or you go pre-record it. It's nice every time.
Yeah.
You got the surprise of it. You get the surprise. You never know what you're gonna get. This week you got kind of a bad intro. Last week you got kind of a bad intro. Perhaps next week you'll tune in and it'll be the greatest intro you've ever seen, and you'll want to keep listening to the GadgetCast, so you're gonna subscribe.
Maybe, probably not, but maybe. Cool. Well, we got a lot of things to talk about this week.
Do we? What do we have to talk about?
Believe it or not, I got things I can talk about.
All right, go ahead, take it over, Travis. The whole show, yours.
I don't know if I need all that, but geez, I don't even know where to start. So we can start with the Galaxy S22 Ultra. So those of you that are watching live can see that I'm holding up the S22 Ultra, and let's talk a little bit about this phone and like how hard it was for me to get, and then I'll talk about the phone itself, because the journey to get here was painful. Now, I don't suppose you got a chance to watch that video yet, Greg?
No. Still got to set some time aside.
It's worth watching.
Yes.
Just for humor, if nothing else. So here's what happens. Now, this I think you do know. I've had a problem for a couple of years now getting Galaxy Note phones on time when I pre-order them. Yeah, so you're aware of
any
this.
Device. I feel like it is a disaster for you. Like you don't know what you're doing.
Well, especially Galaxy phones, because I mean, it was a couple years ago. I had to buy 5 phones just to get one.
Yes,
on time.
Yes, yeah. I remember that whole debacle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this year was no better. It was worse. Probably the worst year yet. So if you're not completely familiar with the entire situation and you have not watched the video that I made, I'll just give you kind of a 30,000 foot view of what happened. So I pre-ordered the Galaxy S22 Ultra, really more so for video content that has nothing to do with reviewing, and I needed to review it for one obligation I had. But other than that, I have another idea for it, right? Well, so here's what happened. I ordered it, and they started shipping it by FedEx, which immediately I had worries. I was like, okay, they're shipping it by FedEx. This is not a good thing. But all right, it just means that I won't get it on the day that I know I should get it, right? Typically for me, and this is literally like the last 6 or 7 orders I've done from companies that ship via FedEx, none of them have come on time. 0 out of all of them over the course of months, right?
Right.
So I expected that to happen. So they say, okay, it'll be there Tuesday. And I'm thinking in my mind, it's not going to be here Tuesday. Like, I just know it's not. And of course it didn't. It did not arrive on Tuesday. On Wednesday, they said it was out for delivery. I said, okay, cool. That's actually not too bad. I'll have enough time to mess around with it, get like a first impressions video or something out, right? Well, I'm working on some things. And I decided to refresh the page on the tracking, and it says it was delivered 2 hours previous. And I'm like, I don't remember that happening. Then I looked at the order and I looked and I noticed that actually it was being delivered to my UPS mailbox, which is fine. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's like a couple minutes from my house. No big deal. I'll just drive up there. So I drive up there and I asked the guy and I go, hey, says FedEx came and delivered the package. And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, what? Well, there's a signature on this thing and it says COV is signed for it. Like, no one here works here with those initials. I'm like, okay. Well, so I go home and I think, okay, I've had things where FedEx has said that they've delivered things and then it comes the next day. I've had that happen before. So I go, maybe that'll be the case. But I noticed that I'm like, but they've never been signature before. They've always just been regular deliveries. And for $1,300 worth of smartphones, and I also, by the way, I had a Galaxy Watch in there and some other things. It was like $1,300, and I get home and I start sweating it because as I tweet about it, and I see people coming back on, yeah, it's never been the signature type. I mean, I've had that happen, but not signature. So I decided to call FedEx, which is not easy. I get them on the phone, and I say, this thing says it's delivered, but no one got it. Like, what's the deal? Can you trace it? So they said, yeah, we'll put a trace on it, whatever that means, which means they're just going to figure out what happened. So I get a call back later in the day from a person, I think local to me. So actually someone who could tell you what's going on rather than someone in another country who has no idea what's going on. And she goes, yeah, so, I'm from that department, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me what's going on? I said, yeah, I have a UPS box. I was waiting for a delivery. There's no one here with these initials. What's the deal? She goes, oh. So I talked to the driver, and he delivered it across the street to the apartment complex. It's across the street from the UPS store. I go, huh? I'm sorry, what? I go, okay, well, but it says it, but it was signed for. She goes, okay, so here's the thing. This guy's been with us for 30 days, like just about a month. He's already had another delivery problem. And there was a policy back when COVID was really kind of a thing, like when it was more so crazy than it is now, where FedEx didn't have you sign for things. They would sign for you and then give it to you. So they didn't have to like exchange pens and stuff or whatever. And she goes, but that policy hasn't been in play in our area for a long time. As a matter of fact, it's been more than a month since we've had people do that. So this guy who just started a month ago figured out how to do this, apparently, and delivered it to the apartment complex. So I go, okay. So now what? She goes, okay, well, I'm going to get my manager involved, blah, blah, blah. And we'll have them go out tomorrow and go get it. I'm like, okay. So they contact the driver, which, and I found out by the comments in this video have really explained to me how FedEx actually works, which is really interesting. The driver says he goes back out there, talks to the apartment manager. Of course, no one brought it to the apartment manager. And so I'm thinking, okay, we'll just, knock on the door of the person that you gave it to. Well, it turns out he doesn't remember where he delivered it in the apartment complex. He doesn't, Greg, he doesn't remember where he delivered it.
Ooh.
So it's gone. Now, I'm like, okay, this is terrible in a couple ways, but let me start the process of getting my money back. So I call Samsung because, when you ship something and you insure it, right? You insure it, right? And then all right, look, Samsung, here's the deal. Here's my case number with FedEx. I need my money back so I can go get this phone. Oh, we need you to fill out a police report. For what? It was misdelivered. If you call FedEx and ask them and give them this case number, they'll tell you exactly what it is. The lady on the phone said, yep, it's our fault. Well, I need a police report. So I filed a police report, which apparently went to the wrong police because they rejected it. I have also tried to file through FedEx. I don't know that I'm going to get this money back, Greg. I had to go and buy another phone from Best Buy, which actually ended up having it in stock. So I drove to Best Buy and bought another one. So right now I'm out $1,300-ish. I bought two, got one. It's almost like, buy one, get one free. I bought two and got one.
I feel like you will get your money back. Did you pay with a credit card?
So here's the thing. I thought I did. But what I did was I actually used PayPal, which I don't know why I did. Now, PayPal will also do protection, so I'm doing a thing through them.
Yeah.
But the problem with this is, unless they contact FedEx, the only proof there is the delivery that says it was delivered. You actually have to call FedEx to find out that that's not actually true. If you just look at the website, you're like, no, it was delivered, and it was signed for. Yeah, it was signed for by COVID. COV is short for COVID. So, I mean, like hello? Oh, my God, dude. So I had to go buy this phone without the discounts and without any of the extras that I was getting from Samsung. Samsung was doing the double memory, pay for 128 gig, get 256. Couldn't do that. I just got 128 gig. No watch, which was important for what I was actually going to use this phone for. So kind of a terrible experience. I hate FedEx, basically. Now, ironically, that same day I put the video out, apparently John Prosser's having problems with FedEx. Except for, well, he's in the middle of a problem with FedEx. Actually, he's potentially out more money than me, but it's still, they just found his delivery, which really ironic is he ordered something 30 minutes from my house. And for the last week, when he paid for expedited overnight shipping a week ago, it's still not there. And there's no update on the tracking. And it's worth more money than what I spent, a lot more money than what I'll tell you off air, much more money than what I spent. So FedEx, so here's what I found out about FedEx, just I was telling you. Turns out, I was not aware of this, that most FedEx delivery drivers don't work for FedEx. They're contractors. What? They're contractors. I had no idea. Okay. So that's why you hear all these horror stories about people like stealing stuff and all this other stuff, because they're just getting paid whatever it is as a contractor. And if they see something kind of thick and juicy and they think it's going to be, you know, paid for by FedEx, they just keep that thing.
That is nuts to me, because I always pictured, like, out of all the delivery services in the States between like USPS, UPS, I always thought FedEx was like top tier billing of like, they're going to get it right.
They used to be.
I guess they are the worst now, because I've even noticed, I know Apple always used to use FedEx, but for some of their recent stuff, I've been getting it through UPS from Apple a lot of the times, which is strange because they were always 100% FedEx every single time. But I've noticed they started using UPS for some of their deliveries. So I'm kind of wondering if you're right, that maybe there's like a big quality shift. It sounds like if all their drivers are just contracted out, I don't know how you keep the quality of those deliveries. And that is insane, the problems you have with FedEx and what other people seem to be having with it. I can't believe they delivered it to the wrong person and everything.
Well, here's the thing. So you're right. FedEx used to be the bomb many a year ago, but that has long since passed. And if you look in the comments of the video that I did about this, there are tons of people who have had issues with FedEx, including people who used to work at FedEx, who said they would never use FedEx because they work there and they know what type of shenanigans go on. So I basically released a 6-minute video just bombing on FedEx for a while.
Now, Marcus here has an interesting comment that I want to know is true in real time. He says you were served by FedEx Ground and FedEx Express is a separate company within the company. Is that true?
I heard that there is a difference between the two. I don't know that it was FedEx Ground, though, because I think FedEx Ground is like a slower delivery thing. And I think this was supposed to be faster. But regardless of whether or not that was the case for me, he is correct. There are I found this out through the comments of this video. I had no idea that was the case. They are technically like this separate kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. So he is right about that.
Every package I have received from FedEx was through a FedEx Express. So maybe that's why I've never had this problem. I can't believe it's actually like a different company. I just thought that was like a different shipping speed. Like if you get like an Express, it means faster. Like that's a whole different company like operating under that. Like that is some weird company structure going on over there. Like, how is that a thing?
Exactly right. And it's so weird, man. It's like, I don't even know. Like it's crazy. And I shouldn't have to care about this, but right now I'm still out of the money.
Yeah. Express drivers aren't contract drivers. They're the real. Look, you could do a whole deep dive into this FedEx conspiracy that they got going on there. It sounds like one of the FedExes is like a legit company and the other one's like a complete scam at this point. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a channel on YouTube called The Company Man, which I love. The channel is really awesome.
Look at this. Wait, I gotta just point. This is the great thing about doing a podcast. I think a lot of people miss, or just doing YouTube in general and having like a big community. We got someone who just happens to be working at FedEx Express for 16 years. So like in the chat, like telling us like, here's how it goes. Here's how it goes down. So that is so cool.
Wow, that's insane. Thanks everyone. And by the way, when I made this video, I wasn't making it for people to feel bad for me, but I was really surprised at how many people were like, oh, I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for you, which was nice. Like, I'm so used to getting such hateful comments in some of my videos that to have people say, and even here, like, look, Jasmine saying, I hope you get your money back. Pray for that. That's really sweet. Like, that's very sweet. I really appreciate that. That's not why I made the video. I made it so I could crap on FedEx, but because I was frustrated, right? So it's interesting. But okay, so that aside, so I have the S22 Ultra, which is essentially the new Note. And I'll tell you something, Greg. As I said in the video that I released this morning about this phone, if I was leaving an iPhone, I would go to this phone, 100%. And I would also say that I'm having a better experience with this than I did the Note 20 Ultra, which I did a review on just like a week or so ago. And it's not even that much different than that, but it's just different enough that I love it. And I know you haven't seen this video yet because I just released it this morning, and I think you're eating ice cream or something. But
It's true.
But I want you to watch. So I still want you to watch the video I did with Tish from our because she's part of the Gadgecast crew. You need to watch that. But I want you to watch this because there is a difference in the picture quality of the S22 Ultra and the iPhone 13 Pro Max when taking pictures of people. And I would say the S22 Ultra is nailing it better than the iPhone by quite a bit.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. Yeah. That was actually the thing I was most looking forward to because I'd heard people say that online, but I wanted to see it for myself. And I'm like, let me see. And it's true. I show it in the video, but I think it's even more obvious if you just look at the phones and see the pictures. There is a difference. And the thing is, I believe if Apple just made a couple changes to their kind of algorithm or whatever, it would work. I don't even think you need to have new hardware for this to work for them. They just need to change the software, I believe. What has been your experience? But by the way, the reason why I looked at this, because I've always felt like certain pictures or even some videos from the iPhone when you're shooting humans just looked like a beauty filter was on all the time or something.
I don't know. I don't think I've had that experience. I feel like every time I take a photo with my iPhone, I look, I go, ooh. So, it's too real. No. There is something maybe with like if it's like a how do I put it? Like a really like HDR scene with like a lot of different lighting. Like sometimes I notice like maybe like the skin tones could be a little bit off, but I feel like that's most smartphone cameras. I don't know if maybe the Galaxy phone has something different with that. But there's so many different things with color temperatures and just the clarity and how it chooses to define. Like the last Android phone I really used for like photos a lot was the Pixel 6 Pro. And there were a lot of photos where like you could look at it and go, this might be a good photo. But what it would do a lot of the times, I felt like, at least for my taste, it would over sharpen the photo, which would give you like a really kind of like dramatic, sharp photo with like a lot of contrast. And it could look good, but sometimes when you're just taking like a regular photo and you don't want something that's super moody, it just kind of set like the wrong tone. Like it was just too sharp, and it kind of ruined it for some of the photos. So it's very different with processing. We went into a huge discussion on this last week of how you can show two pictures from two different phones, and it's like, what's the better photo? And then you could go into this whole different argument of what kind of photo style you prefer and how you like the decisions these cameras are making, because it is mostly down to the processing at this point, at least from where the majority of differences come from the photo quality. But I got to watch your video and see the differences, because I've seen a couple people on Twitter mention the same thing, like you said. But I'll trust yours a little bit because I know you to be pretty unbiased. So I'll be interested to see that one.
Yeah, it was. No, I've taken pictures. No, I've taken videos of people with the iPhone. As a matter of fact, the entire video where I did the iPhone challenge, the first one was with the iPhone 13 Pro Max when I was out with Nelson and them. That was all iPhone 13 Pro Max when I was interviewing them and everything. And I think it looked great. Yeah. But when you can, and I think the video is still maybe a little better on the iPhone, not by a lot, but to me it is. But the pictures they just seem different. Now, what's interesting is, so people are asking some good questions here in the chat. So real quick, someone was saying, Genosis was saying that the pigmentation on the iPhone needs to be recalibrated. Have I tried the photographic styles? I have not done that. Do you use those at all? the photographic styles on iPhone?
I mean, during when I was reviewing it, I tried it out for a little bit, but I just always went back to the default one. But yeah,
Yeah.
it can change up like the color balance a lot, which might help with like skin tones or pigmentation.
Yeah, I think with Pixel and now Samsung doing I think better jobs with skin tones, Apple's going to need to bring their A game on the 14. And if they can do it in software, then they should backwards back compat them for the older phones, because I would be hard pressed to believe that the 13 Pro Max or any of the 13 phones couldn't do a better job. I just think it's a software thing. Like it's very much not really a hardware thing anymore. But I will say that the S22 Ultra, I love it. I really think about it a lot when it's just sitting there looking at, like I want to pick it up and use it for stuff. Like it's one of those phones that's really fun. Now, part of this could be the fact that I've been on iOS so long and not really playing around with Android very much over the last couple of months, that maybe just because it's different, it's fun. And you could argue that for people that are on one operating system and then get exposed to the other operating system, at first it might be like, oh, I don't know. And then they kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun. Oh, this is kind of new. This is kind of fun. And maybe that's why. I don't know yet, because I've only had the phone for a couple of days, if that's the reason why. I just know that I want to interact with it more often. It's fun. And I don't know that have felt that way about the iPhone in a long time. And again, might be because I'm overly exposed to it. But I mean, who's to say? I might, like, if I wasn't as exposed to you as much, maybe I'd be thinking, oh, I loved hanging out with Greg and talking to Greg all the time. I want to do it all the time because I never talked. But I talked to you quite a bit. So I'm like, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right talking to Greg, you know.
There's always that period of anytime you start using a new device, you do have to question if it is just, oh, hey, this is new, this is great, I'm going to be using this, this is better than the iPhone. What am I doing here? If this had iOS, I'd be using. There's a bunch of questions that sometimes you kind of got to run through, and there is a honeymoon phase, I find, with new tech products, that within next month, if you're still going for this phone, if you're still picking it up over the iPhone, you'll have a very clear picture. It is one of the things in tech that's very hard to do, is sometimes these shorter term reviews when you do just first get a device. And sometimes it's hard to make up your opinion within a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes you need like a solid month with a device, sometimes even more, to kind of get a good picture on, hey, is this really for me? That was one of the things I really had to tell myself when I first started testing foldable phones. It was such a new concept that, even with the first Galaxy Flip and the second generation Fold, I started using them, and it's like, it's something you've never done before, is fold a phone. And it is such a, like, even if I don't use those phones today, even if that they weren't for me, that initial experience of using that brand new technology for the first time, it was mind blowing. It was one of the coolest experiences I've had with tech in recent memory. But it's something that didn't stick for me. It's something that I can acknowledge it. I can appreciate the technology, but that at the end of the day, it really didn't change the way I use those devices. And actually, with the Fold, the bigger device, that it actually was almost a negative for me, because most of the time I just preferred to use it in the standard smartphone form factor. And it was kind of a negative to pick up like a bulky device like that if I wasn't always transforming it to the tablet mode. So sometimes you really do have to use these devices and see, like, is this for me? And when it's like the newest, the shiniest, most premium device out there, there's always that initial cool factor of like, look at this thing. This thing's so cool. It's so polished. I just want to keep using it.
Yeah, Gary Everyday Dad said something that was usually, at one point, was the exact opposite for me. I'm also really realizing that I'm really hot on this take. You might have to bring my volume down when you do the podcast mix. Anyway, is that I was the opposite of what he said. He said that he's not a fan of Android on phones, but he loves Android on tablets. Now, when I saw my Android phones, I was the exact opposite. I used to say I love my phones Android and my tablets iPad. Because at the time, and for the longest time, I think they were just superior. Having said that, now I haven't used an Android tablet in quite a while. I've always been impressed by the build quality of the Samsung ones, but the operating system itself always let it down. Now, I have not used one in a while, and I know there's a lot of differences. And now that Dex is part of the ecosystem of their tablets and phones and stuff, I feel like, and now that LumaFusion, the editing software that I actually use, one of the main reasons that I stayed on iPad is now going to Android. I would say that if these Android tablets had existed when I was still using an Android phone and LumaFusion started over there, I might not have an iPad Pro. You know, like I haven't used the new ones, but so many people are singing the praises of them that I respect that I just straight up believe them. And I know that being on that Android side at one point was fine with me. And one of the main reasons I turned over is because I was already using an iPad, especially to edit my videos. And if I was using LumaFusion and never had to switch over, I wouldn't have gotten an iPhone because, I would have reviewed an iPhone, but I wouldn't have switched to iPhone because once you have like an iPad or something that's in that ecosystem, and then you bring a phone over, and then you start doing all of those Apple ecosystem things, everything else starts to come together. Let me get the watch. Let me get like everything else starts to come. Now I'm trapped. I got an iMac over here. I feel very trapped. I would have to drop almost everything to go back over because I'd be missing out on so much.
I mean, I think you just gave yourself a really good video idea. So I don't know if I want to expand on that too much, but like trying to escape the Apple ecosystem after in the position you're in of being, an Android user for that time period, and then kind of recently going over to iPhone, and then seeing all these phones come out on the Android side and never really being able to pull yourself back to iPhone. It would be interesting to see if you could escape the ecosystem, see if you could go back, maybe pick up like a Samsung tablet and continue using your Ultra. Well, I like to call it the Note, but continue using your Ultra and see if you could escape, see if it's
That's a great idea. I mean, it's a great idea, especially with some of the new types of videos that I'm going to be doing on the channel. I think that fits right in. As a matter of fact, there is, I'll tell the GadgetCast fans because, I love the GadgetCast fans. I'm not really saying this anywhere else, but I'm in the middle of doing my next kind of longer project cool video, which is another Switch video, because all the other stuff that I want to do is going to take some time. So it's another one of the challenge a phone user to try something else. And I have my first call with that person after GadgetCast. So I'm really excited. And they texted me something the other day on their second day of having the phone that literally shocked me. I did not see it coming. So I'm super amped about this call after GadgetCast, which is one of the reasons I have to leave shortly after GadgetCast so I can get on that call. But the point is the same. Like, I'm challenging them to get out of what they've been used to for, in this case, all of their life. In this particular case, their entire life. And I've given them something different. And now they're like, huh. So yeah, to your point, I did it once with the MacBook thing. So we can try it. Yeah. Interesting. So I guess really one of the final things we'll talk about, and then we can just kind of vibe if you want, is we're still we're only a couple days away from, and depending on when you're listening to this podcast, maybe it already happened, the invites for the March event. By the time we do another show, we'll be like potentially a day out from the March event. So we don't have to spend a lot of time on it right now. But I do want to say, like, again, from my perspective, I'm only kind of interested in one or two things, but there's a rumor that came out online just really recently that's implying that the older SE will drop to $200. Is that right?
So I think Mark Gurman came out today saying that, and this would be different. They're saying that Apple's gonna keep the older iPhone SE in the lineup. I think that has like an A13 chip in it. It's not too bad spec wise.
Yeah.
Definitely enough performance for most people, but they're gonna bring it down to a $200 price point. And I think me and you both agree that this SE3 we've been hearing a lot about, we're kind of just like, okay, it's the same phone. It's going to have a faster chip. Does anyone need a faster chip who's buying that phone? And it's going to have 5G. That might actually be a detriment to that phone because maybe it brings down the battery life even more. So is this a phone to get excited for? But I think me and you maybe look at this phone coming out, and if it really does mean that they're going to keep that phone and then bring it at $200, that changes the narrative quite a bit, to the point where you're like, wait a minute, is this older phone that's already here, you can go out and buy it today, is that suddenly more exciting just for the value perspective of a $200 iPhone with no contract, no trade-in? Unheard of.
Okay, Greg, I don't normally predict or agree or disagree with leaks. I do not believe this. I don't believe it. Now, I would be happy to be wrong because that's a very compelling moment. A very stick your stake in the ground, changing the paradigm of Apple moment, because they've never really been the company that's like, oh, let's beat everyone on price. Not really. I mean, the 10R was kind of the closest thing when they're like, oh, $749. You don't remember these? Listen, we're trying to go at you. This is a whole other ball of wax. This is like those people that are getting the $200 prepaid phones that, don't have a lot of money and maybe have always wanted an iPhone. They just don't want the monthly payments. Could now, even though it's not a great phone, right? It's good enough. The battery life is probably the most suspect thing about it. But damn, this is why I just don't believe it. I hope it's true because I think it really changes the entire industry. But I would see. I don't see them going to $200. I think that's too cheap for them. $300 maybe. $200 now.
The rumor seems very weird. Now, you could say it's $200, a $200 iPhone. Maybe that's the attractive headline to write. And that phone could be $299. Technically $200, right? Like maybe the attractive headline, maybe it's not $199, it's $299. It's a $200 phone. I think I agree with you there because a $200 price cut for that phone and just knowing how Apple works, it just doesn't seem to make sense. Like, who's going to get the new iPhone SE when you can get it for $200 less? It's basically the same phone, based on the rumors we've been hearing, unless there's a last minute surprise, which is possible that everyone else got wrong. So yeah, I think you're right. I think $300 makes more sense, but it just depends on how Apple wants to play this. Now, the only thing that I could really see this pretty big price cut making sense, and I don't want to pitch this phone as like, oh my gosh, $200, what a tremendous value. It is a very old phone design. They probably could sell it for $200, no problem, right? Like, without like an Apple markup. It is what it is. I think the only thing where this phone maybe could come in at $200 is maybe with an asterisk of like a carrier deal, right? Like that's definitely possible. If you get it on AT&T, it is $200. If you get it unlocked, it's $299. Maybe that's the strategy they're going for. Or and this again, maybe this is just Apple, master strategy. We've kind of wondered for a while now, when is Apple going to get rid of this iPod that they sell on their website? It's a $200 iPod. It's a 4-inch screen. In a lot of ways, it's just an iPhone SE without the cellular connection. Maybe this is their way to go, the iPod has served its purpose, and we have a product that can do everything the iPod can do and be hooked up to a cellular network, and we can shrink our product line down. We don't have to make the iPod anymore. We can just insert this phone at $200, which is the same price that iPod Touch sells for. And if you really wanted an iPod Touch, if you wanted to get that for your kid, if I hear sometimes in businesses, iPod Touches are actually still pretty popular as like a point of sale. You can get that iPhone SE at $200. That is the only area where I think it makes sense for them to drop that price that low, is just so they can finally be rid of the iPod, and now they have the $200 iPhone.
Of those situations you said, I actually do buy into one of them, which is it's really $299, but with carrier incentive, it's $199. That I buy. That I could get behind. That I could actually maybe believe. Because it came out at $399, and that was like a year and a half ago. Yes. So $299 is definitely not out. Because a year later they do this for like all the flagships. They drop them $100 or more. I could see them getting to $299 and then have a carrier incentive for $199. That I believe, and we may actually see that. I just don't know that we're going to see a $199. But what if we did? Because then look at this. If Apple was like, yeah, we're going to go $199 on this, carrier incentive $99, or carrier incentive free, good God Almighty. I mean, again, not the best phone, and not even one that anyone who listens to this show would probably use. But that's not the point. The point is to expand the. There's still tons of people that, despite the fact that Apple sells the most flagships in the industry, period. Like they sell more iPhones than any other carrier, than any other manufacturer does of flagships. There's still a lot of people they don't sell to. This would be a way to get in and get in pretty cheap and get people who have been curious to. It's insane. That would be really insane. So of all things that we've heard so far, that to me is the most exciting. And it's funny because it's on a phone that we really haven't been thinking about at all. We're like, there's going to be a new one. We certainly haven't thought anything about the old one. This would be really compelling if they did it.
It's going to be one of those things that I think is either going to be really disappointing in the fact that I don't, $299 for that phone. I just still feel like maybe it's still too high, but like if they get it down to maybe even with the carrier deals, if they get it down to 200, we're talking about a whole different story. It's so, I mean, $200 is a lot of money to some people still. I get it. Like, don't come at me going, hey, you don't understand, the average person. I get it. Like, I know, but seriously, $200 for an iPhone is, it's the lowest it's ever been. It's at that point. And I know you'll bring up the comparison. You'll bring up this budget phone, this A series phone that's got like a 6-inch screen, looks pretty modern and all that stuff. I get it. I know the phone market in the budget range. I know it's highly competitive. But to have the iPhone start at that price point, I think would make huge inroads, maybe in that crowd even of people going, well, you know what? I could use this phone for $200. I don't need the longest lasting we're always talking about us, and I think we're power users and about battery life. There's sometimes I do a video and I'm like, I don't know if I can recommend the iPhone SE because the battery life's so poor, it can't get me through a day. And then I get people in the comments, and rightfully so, totally different use case than me. And like, what are you talking about? I end my day with 40% battery life remaining. And it's like, really? And it's like, it's just a totally different group of users who sometimes are using these phones, and they're not on their phone 24/7 like I am. And I have to respect that. That's probably how phones should be used. So I think this could be a very popular phone. I think it would definitely make the event a lot more interesting to talk about from an industry standard, and just from can Apple shake up the lower end of this market, something they really haven't dipped their toes into. I mean, the lowest price phone they've had up until this point officially is $400. And granted, $400 for an iPhone, we always talked about how that's low, but 200 and 400 again are totally different ballparks for these devices. So I really hope this rumor is true. I'm kind of with you. I kind of doubt it. Like, it sounds too good to be true. But maybe this is a new Apple that wants to be really aggressive with their services, and they just want to win that war of getting people into the iPhone. And they understand that the people who are buying a $200 iPhone SE are not the people who are buying their premium phones, and they're not risking anything by releasing that device at $200 that is really going to impact their flagship phone sales.
Now, for clarification, to just kind of give you some context, I'm looking at like T-Mobile's site at other phones that are priced around $200. For $200, a lot of times you are paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 a month if you're financing it, which is, is very reasonable. The one thing that they do have to overcome is the fact that a lot of those phones, and despite the fact they only have 64 gigs of storage, which actually is just perfect for the SE because that's about what it has. The only problem is that it's not 5G, and these $200 phones are. The Android phones are. So,
yeah,
at the end of the day, like, 5G doesn't necessarily matter in of itself, except for the fact when you're going to buy something and you hear someone say, I have a 5G phone, 5G, 5G, 5G.
Well,
and you go, oh, this is an iPhone. Is it 5G? Well, no, but it's $200. Like, oh, okay, but
I think that plays to Apple's strategy, honestly, if they do go this route. Having a phone at that price point is just something that'll get you into the store to take a look at it. It's like running a Black Friday TV sale. You go in for the TV, and then all of a sudden there's someone there from Apple going, all right, great phone, $200. It doesn't have 5G. And that's something where the normal consumer walks in and they go, wait a minute, I've been hearing a lot about this 5G. Maybe I need to step up to the 5G model. And that kind of gives, that nice entry point, and it gets you to buy something even higher end than that. So maybe that's what Apple's just going for. Again, if they're really going to do it at this $200 price point, is just to get you in there. And if you walk away with it, great. Maybe they'll hook you up with some services. But if not, you're probably looking at more expensive iPhones at that point because you came in to get an iPhone. I remember going in to get the iPhone 5C, and I walked out with a 5S at one point. So I was like, it worked on me at one point. Yeah, I really want to see, like, this made it a lot more interesting to me, this event. And again, it's an old product. Like, I own the original or the second generation iPhone SE, so it's not like I have anything new to review. It'll actually be an easier review for me to put out. I already have the phone. I don't have to buy anything new. But I just feel like it just changes the narrative a little bit on what that phone is. And if anything, I don't know who's unless, again, there's some surprises here. I don't know who's recommending the 5G iPhone SE who has any sense, especially depending on the 5G coverage in your area. It might not be all it's chalked up to be at this point. Which
depends on pricing. It depends on pricing of all of this. Really but we'll see. We're not too far away to be able to find that out, and that's an interesting conversation to have for sure.
It almost wouldn't surprise me at this point, which might sound strange, but I feel like we've seen Apple kind of release these aggressive products in the past. You got that iPad, which is like $329, awesome value. You got the Apple Watch Series 3 at $200. They have been bringing some lower cost products in the lineup. I was really surprised that they actually kept the original AirPods in the lineup. I thought there was no way they're just gonna keep it in the lineup. You know, those things are kind of like old at this point. But it seems like we're just in like this different era from Apple where they realize that they have this huge customer base to the point where you go back 5 years ago, it wasn't necessarily the case. You could cover more people with just one phone model from Apple. And now at this point, it's like you need a whole range of phones to cover the entire market. And this market's shrinking to the point where I feel like it does make sense for them to explore a lower end market. To have an iPhone at every single price point, even if it's not the best iPhone, for them just makes sense because you're eventually going to reach the peak of how many iPhones you can sell to one end of the market. If you have this untapped version, especially, and we think about this always from like a US point of view, but in developing markets like India, where they really value, like phone values and stuff like that, that would be maybe that would just move the needle for them to a point where they haven't just seen it in those countries yet.
Yeah, and they're definitely price conscious. I get that in my comment section all the time from people that are overseas saying, this actually costs this much in my country, and it's like, wow, I mean, that's a definite difference. Yeah. And I think also what's interesting is I'm looking at AT&T as well, but T-Mobile, their phone lineups to see like where something like this would fit in. What I found interesting offers the 10R. I'm seeing if AT&T does. I don't see it. Well, they actually offer the 10 Max. Jeez Louise. But here's what's interesting. It's the same price as the 11. And I'm like, why if we want to go to the SE price point, I know the answer to this because you're going to say it's the button, but why not just make the 10R the new SE at a really low price?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that should be the phone, and I feel like that has more mass market appeal because it's a bigger screen, which we know the low end market likes, and it has a better battery, which again, that's important to everyone. So I feel like 10R should have been the new SE. We've heard so many rumors about this new SE being the same body that I guess it's just going to be, but I feel like a nice surprise would be maybe they're getting confused for the body on the SE being the older model still being in the lineup, and then we see like a 10R style phone come out as the new SE, or even I feel like the older plus size phones, like I feel like even that would be a better deal because the battery life in those phones is just going to be what you need for that type of device, especially with 5G. So
yeah.
But based on all the rumors, we can only go on rumors at this point. Obviously, we'll have a lot more clarity very soon. Mm-hmm. It just sounds the more expensive SE model just sounds kind of boring. And if being an experienced reviewer, I guess you kind of just look at it and go, if they're really not doing anything to the battery, putting 5G in there, I think might just make it worse. I feel like it might be a mistake.
Yeah, I'm going to wait. I don't want to triple down on this subject because if it ends up not being true, then I almost get hyped about nothing. So I'm going to slow down until we see if this happens. If it does, I'm taking the better part of an episode to talk about how this is a big deal. Like literally we're going to talk about this because I really feel like if Apple really dips their toe in $200, it opens up a whole new market for them, which is a whole new conversation that Samsung's never had to worry about before. So something to consider. What else do we have before we wrap up? Because I got to do that content. You and I have to talk about some stuff.
There is another thing. There's like a rumor today for like Apple's apparently working on a foldable device, but it's not a phone. Did you hear about this? It's going to be a MacBook iPad hybrid with a touchscreen keyboard. Uh-oh. Did I lose Travis? Am I lost? I don't hear anything. I don't know if I dropped or oh wait,
I died. So
you died.
Now,
Okay.
So this part is going to be interesting for you to edit because I was talking during this part, which means we're both going to be talking over each other and we're not hearing each other. Okay, I'm back.
Fine, I got it.
Now, I'm sorry. So is there anything we want to talk about before I go?
I said there's just a quick rumor about a Apple foldable device, a MacBook iPad hybrid with a touchscreen keyboard.
Oh yeah. Okay. What do you think about this?
I don't know what to think about this. Maybe we can save this for a future episode and go a little bit more deeper into it.
Yeah. I agree.
But just a quick thought. It sounds interesting because I don't know how they would merge those two OSs together after saying they weren't going to merge for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like while it's a cool concept, like most foldables, I just don't know if that would be a good device with a software keyboard. I feel like you would need a physical kind of keyboard. Maybe that's another element part of it, like the Neo, the Surface Neo, and it had like a keyboard that went over the screen as well. Maybe they could do something like that. But in terms of like a pure virtual keyboard experience, I just don't see it sounds cool. I'm sure there's cool things you could do with it, but I'm just thinking of using it as a laptop form factor. I would rather just have a physical keyboard on the bottom and then have a screen, like having, I'm not going to be looking down at the screen while I'm using the keyboard part of it. So
yeah, interesting.
I don't know what to think there, right?
I'm going to wait to see a little bit more information about this because I saw like a real quick drawing of it or something, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I'm like, that's not happening. So I just kept moving on. So I want to talk about it, but I really want to kind of learn more about it. So I'm going to wait until I educate myself more. I don't think something like that's coming because I think it straddles the line way too much. And up until this point, Apple's been pretty clear that the iPad's the iPad and the MacBooks are the MacBooks.
I also feel like, again, the main advantage of going into foldables is to either make the form factor smaller or larger. Mm-hmm. Now, a 20-inch display, that sounds amazing. Wait, I can make my laptop a 20-inch display? But then I'm really thinking, like, a 20-inch tablet? Is that something I really want? Like, how are you holding that thing? Like, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is almost unwieldy. Yeah. I can't imagine having 20-inch display with me. That just sounds a little too much.
Well, for those of you listening on the audio podcast, definitely leave us your thoughts. What do you think? Is this something that's going to happen? And also tell me what you think about FedEx. Do you love FedEx? Have you had problems with FedEx? You can email us or hit us up on social media in the either the description of this live stream, or if you're on audio, the show notes, as always. All right. Well, we'll do a real quick aftercast. So for people watching the live stream, we'll do that real quick. For the audio podcast listeners, we'll be back next week as we get ready for the March event. If depending on when you're listening to this, you already know about the invites, and next week we will start to really find out what's going on. So anyway, he's Greg. I'm Travis. This is Getchcast. What a weird audio thing. So what happened was after I said what I said to you, I clicked on something and it like froze all my stuff, even though I was still moving. And I'm like, oh, I think my internet just crapped out. So that's too bad. Anyway, real quick aftercast stuff. I want to answer some questions people said. How would Greg dance with a 20-inch tablet? Yeah, exactly right.
It'd be hard to do that in a review. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do it.
That's why we got the Magic Keyboard. FedEx Australia is the worst. Let's see. Highly doubtful Apple will go for just experimenting. I agree with this. This is what I think is actually happening. They're just experimenting, and it's never going to come out. Oh, Crazy Tech wanted to know about your analog pocket. I'm still curious.
Oh, good. I did have one glitch with it, and I think I need to update the firmware. All of a sudden, I was playing the game, and it just started like doing like random button presses. So I did notice that there's like a new firmware for it, but one of the problems with this being like such an old device, and I kind of wish it wasn't like this because it is modern, is you have to go download the software update from their website, put it on an SD card, and that's how you update the firmware. Really wish there was just like a networking thing to like update. You know what I mean? Like, but it's cool. I just need to do that because I was playing and I was like, wait a minute. Oh no, I gotta go fix this. So hopefully that fixes it.
Is this what we were talking about? The Apple patent application describing a fully functioning Mac keyboard like that Commodore 64? Because that's kind of dope. I don't know if they're going to do that either. It's kind of a cool idea though. In a way, it's almost like a different version of the Mac Mini. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It'd be kind of interesting to have everything inside the keyboard and then you just plug it into whatever. That's not a bad idea. It would be a reimagining of the Mac Mini in my mind.
They could totally do it at this point. Put a Mac in a keyboard.
I feel like Apple might be worried a modern knowing SD would cannibalize flagships. Maybe, but one thing we've noticed about people have said that about things like, why are they doing a lower end version of the iPhone 12, 11, 13? It's going to cannibalize, and it never does. Let's see. We already said that. Let's see. I can see Apple selling price value by their push for ethical and inclusive values. Yeah. Well, okay. Here's one about. Okay, so this was the outside US didn't really need 5G. So my comment wasn't about the fact that people need 5G. It's that when you're in a store and someone's like, that phone costs as much as this one, and that one comes with 5G and this one doesn't, that's the deciding factor. It's not so much, oh, are you going to use 5G? That's not the point. When you're in there going to throw some money down, you want value, and that appears to be value. We know the difference, but a person walking into that store, generally speaking, doesn't.
Yeah, and a lot of customers just have memories of the transition from 2G to 3G and 3G to 4G, where speeds dramatically improved. It was like night and day differences that most customers, when they hear 5G, it's pure marketing to the point where they remember how slow devices were when they made those initial jumps, and they think that, 4G to 5G, it's going to be just as fast. And that's when you have to go to like a review video and go, well, hold on here. Theoretically, yes. But right now, no.
Exactly right. Real quick, the Samsung Freestop, I'm not even sure what that is, unfortunately. Greg, are you going to get the Steam handheld device?
Yes, I have the reservation. I'm just waiting for them to send me an email to say you can buy it. I think I made a mistake because I ordered the most expensive model, and I believe those are shipping later, unfortunately.
Well, that's all right. When you get it, you'll be happy about it. I saw that Sonny said that he's still on 4G over there. Does that mean no LTE, or are you talking about like with LTE?
You must have LTE.
Yeah, of course they push another. They push it over the nether. They push it everywhere, really. At this point, if they have it, it's a good way to try to bring people in to re-up your your value. If you have contracts, if you don't, whatever. Q1 or Q2, Greg? What are you?
Q2 for the Steam Deck. Q2.
And Apple is with the last one. Apple is perceived and premium value is true. Is the premium value? I think $200 SE will make it sell like hotcakes for a couple years. I agree with this. This is why I think it's really, if this is a true thing and it really happens, I think it's a big deal. We'll see. I don't know that it'll be the number one selling phone, but I think it disrupts the entire industry. So we'll see. We shall see. All right. So I got to talk to Greg offline. So everyone, I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. And we thank you so much for hanging in there with us. I saw a comment by Katya. It was like, I've been looking for shows for the last couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden you did one on a day that's not the day. I'm like, oh, I felt bad. But we appreciate you, everyone, for coming. And we'll see you guys and gals next time.